Yesterday I got my 8N put back together so that it is running now, and I took it for a test run and it did great. So I think that I'm ready to start moving around bales, and my goal is to try to get all those bales moved today. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. Before I head over there, my first challenge is figuring out how to get all of my gear on this tractor. Normally I have a bucket on the front and I can just put everything in there, it's no problem. But now that I have the hay spear, I have to figure out where I'm gonna put a backpack full of camera gear, an ice chest full of drinks, and a cup. I wish I had some better words to sort of transition us into this next part of the video, but I don't know. All I really got to say is we got a mountain of hay to move and we need to get started. I'm moving right along here and I had to stop and go check water, of course, but I thought I would kind of show you guys a couple things that I've been noticing. First thing, as I'm getting into this stack, I can see that the mice or the rodents have been in here pretty bad already, which kind of has me worried, because if they're that bad now, they're only going to be worse come winter. So hopefully relocating this whole stack sort of disrupts them and exposes them and leaves them vulnerable to predators. I know I should have an owl living in here. There's always an owl in this barn. But I have also noticed a family of cats, a black cat that had a litter of kittens. I don't know how many kittens are left, but there's still a few of them in here. So hopefully they can kind of start doing some damage. I've got some bait boxes in here as well, and they are all empty. So that one's on me. I just need to be better about keeping them full, because obviously the rodents are eating that stuff. So it's just kind of an eye-opener, something that now I know I cannot be slacking on. My 3 on the bottom, 2 on the top stack is fitting, just barely, but it is fitting. I certainly wouldn't want to just do layers of 3 because that would just be wasting so much space. This is definitely a tight fit like this, but it is working. So I'm just going to try to keep doing this as I go out. It is very tough to get these bottom bales on either side in, but I sort of figured out a trick. If I pick them up a little bit crooked with the spear, then I can angle a tractor and drop them right in there, which after you say it out loud, it seems like the most obvious solution, but it took me a while to figure that out. I left myself a little gap here at the end. This was for 2 reasons. For one, I know that the cat's home is back in there somewhere, so I wanted to leave them a little pathway so they could still get back to wherever they live. And it's also a good place for a bait box. So hopefully this can kind of become like a super highway for rats and mice, and the cats will figure that out and just kind of hang out here and catch them. I might even leave like a bowl of water here or something to attract them to come out of the stack, and that'd be good for the cats too. But it would also, I think, kind of attract the rodents and almost be like setting a trap to help the cats out a little bit. I don't know if they need my help or not, but I want to try to knock these rodents out as fast as I can. And I guess that's about all there is to say about it. Let's get back to work. Well, it looks like I've reached the capacity on the side here. I was hoping to get 60 bales in here, and I just counted them up and I got 53. So I got close, but not quite everything. Down here on the end, I can't get 2 more bales on top of here because my loader is going to hit the barn. So this is as far as we can go. If we look in the barn, still got quite a few bales in here. I haven't counted these, but there's several. So now the question becomes what to do with these or where to put them. I need at least 2/3 of the barn on this side clean, almost all the way to the back, not quite, so I can fit my 10 blocks of small squares in here. So what I'm thinking is the best thing to do to at least get started is to make a stack inside the main part of the barn here, where these 3 are. Basically just continue that, a 3 stack all the way out to the end. That'll still leave me plenty of room to put my small square stacks on the other side here by the manger, and that should get maybe not all of these bales accounted for, but most of them. So then whatever is left over after that, I think I'm just gonna make a little stack outside and I'll feed them first, and that should be fine. The bad news with that plan is that I pretty much have to, I still have to take all of these bales out of the barn so that I can kind of redo the stack just on the side here. But I guess no matter what I would have ended up doing, it would have entailed bringing all the bales out of the barn. So yeah, I guess it's time to get back on the tractor and get to it. Well, that's about the best I can do here, I think. I've got my 2 high stack here. The only thing where I'm kind of messed up is I have these 2 bales here in the corner, and I can't pick them up with the tractor because the cows were able to reach through here and chew through that net. So when I try to pick them up, they just fall apart. So I'll end up having to pitch those into the manger here for them to eat. It's kind of a bummer because it's a waste of 2 bales, but I guess I learned my lesson. I need to block that off a little bit better. I ended up with 14 bales that I'm gonna have to leave outside, but that's not a huge deal. This is about 2 weeks worth of feed for the weaned calves, maybe a little bit more. Odds are we'll start feeding 2 weeks before it starts raining, but if we don't, if we do get an early storm that I'm not expecting, I'm just gonna take this top layer off and then I'll let them get rained on as a single layer. And that way, I think from what I'm told, the rain's not really gonna hurt those. If I leave them like this, the danger would be you'd get water kind of being funneled down into the pocket there. And then you could get some mold and some spoilage that way. The 8M performed very well today. I was pleased. This scenario today was probably the biggest torture test that I've ever put it through. And this, what I did today was kind of what I was worried about, whether or not it would be able to handle it. That is moving a bunch of bales when it's 100 degrees out. I don't have a temperature gauge on this thing yet. I have one, but I just haven't installed it yet. But the radiator never boiled over. It never gave any sort of other indications that it was overheating. I know the hydraulic oil was getting hot, but that's to be expected. But everything performed the way that it was supposed to. So today she did good. Hopefully next time's the same story. It feels good to have this done. It's kind of been hanging over my head for the last, well, since the starter went out on this tractor, and you know, I was really wanting to get this done that day. But now this barn is ready for square bales. I've got plenty of room here on the manger side where I can fit my 10 stacks, and I'll actually have a little bit of extra room. I could even put some of these last round bales that are outside in front of the square bales if I want to, but they're probably not really hurting anything where they're at. So anyway, it is getting hot. It's been hot, and I'm out of water in my ice chest, so I think we need to run back home. Actually, before I go, there's one more thing that I want to do. This old guy looks like he could use a hose down. It's been about 10 days since I clipped this pasture. I had a bunch of tall weeds out here that the cows didn't want to eat, and they were getting out of control. So I decided that the way to handle that was going to be to mow them down. After that video went up, several of you mentioned in the comments that you wanted to see what this field looked like before the cows came into it the next time. And as you can hear, today is move day, and they are ready to get in here. So I thought before they start tearing into this, I'd walk around a little bit and show you what we got. As some of you will remember from the last video, this area of the pasture was heavily infested with undesirable weeds, but now that they've been mowed down, they have essentially turned into hay. There's 2 main types of weeds here. One, I believe, is called smut grass, and the other is this stuff here. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's kind of like almost a woody consistency, and I'm not sure that the cows are gonna wanna eat this. But I do feel pretty confident that they will eat the smut grass now that it's cut off. So You know, rather than me sit out here and keep talking to you and torturing these poor cows that want to get in this field, I think we should go open the gate and let them in here and see how they react. Several people suggested that I try spraying 2,4-D out here to kill these undesirable weeds, but that wouldn't work for a variety of reasons. Number one, the smut grass being a grass shouldn't be affected by 2,4-D. That other sort of woody plant might have. But the big problem with that is you have a mass application, and I would end up killing all my broadleafs out here, one of which would be the clover, and that is the cow's main protein source when they're grazing. So we definitely don't want to do that. The weed wiper that I talked about before would really be the ticket out here, because it only targets the tall weeds that the cows haven't eaten, and it actually doesn't apply any herbicide to the good grass that they like. A couple other people in the last video commented on something I said about the tall weeds eventually leading to pink eye, and they were kind of wondering how exactly that works. Well, in order for pink eye to happen, there's a certain bacteria that must enter the eye, and this can only happen if the eye has some sort of abrasion on it. This is usually caused by rubbing against brush, seed heads, or any kind of tall weeds, thistles, things like that. So all that smut grass and whatever that other weed is was right at about eye level. So when a cow had her head down eating grass, she was almost definitely sort of battling those weeds touching her eyes. Now that we have all these tall weeds mowed down and there's really nothing out here that's taller than 8 inches, when the cows have their heads down grazing, they won't have anything in their eyes. So that is what I was talking about, of how those tall weeds can eventually lead to pink eye. Well, clearly the fresh green grass is a hit out here, and they prefer that over any of the mowed off weeds. But I have a lot of confidence that after a couple days out here, we won't find any of this anymore. I'm walking around out here trying to get all these shots of cows eating, but the problem I'm having is that every time I get close to them, they just stare at Callie because they're not used to seeing her out here. So I'm just doing the best I can. So does mowing pastures work? Well, I guess first you would have to define what your definition of work is. In my case, I wanted to get those weeds down out of the cow's eyes and give that grass a little bit of a jump start. Hopefully help the Dallas grass out with its growth, because now it shouldn't be competing with the other weeds nearly as much. So for me, yes, mowing does work. It's not going to replace proper grazing management, but honestly, I think it is a big part of proper grazing management, especially on a high density grades like I do here on irrigated pasture. I think I'm going to wrap things up today by putting this side of the manure spreader back together, but all of that is going to have to wait until the next video. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.